Okay, so as I explained in my first video, I'm sort of between educational premises at the moment. I've left high school, but I'm not yet at college. And what they decided to do at my college that I'm planning to go to, Haston College, is they decided to do an introduction day. Basically, the first thing they did when we got there is they put us into small groups with different tutors, and the tutors gave us a tour of the site. Because it wasn't like we had maps and had been there before or anything. And then the rest of the day was lessons. Now, there were 5 lessons on, and every single student had a free period. All the free periods were at different times. Mine was in 3rd period, and the other 4 I did were English literature, maths, sociology, and psychology, because those are what I'm planning on doing when I go to college. Now, the free period was intended for you to go looking around the site and looking around the college and asking different questions, or going into town and having a look at the stuff in North Walsham and stuff. But I'd already been into town at that point and already bought some stuff that I needed, like batteries for my camera. And I found out we were allowed to sit in on other classes. And so I went with my friend Alex to his law class. And it was brilliant. Basically, what they taught us was that there are different things that you can be prosecuted for. One of them is assault. Now, what assault involves is if you threaten somebody and they feel that they're immediately threatened. Like, if they don't do anything about it, they will become assaulted quickly and immediately. So if you go up to someone and you raise a fist, that counts as assault. If you go up to somebody and tell them that you're going to hit them, that counts as assault. And there was an absolutely great example that the teacher gave us, which was a man was once walking home in the dark or whatever, and he accidentally strayed from the path, and he ended up in somebody's front garden. Now, it was completely accidental, he didn't mean to do it, but as he was looking around, he ended up looking inside the house, into the bedroom, because it was a bungalow. At this point, the woman inside the house, in her bedroom, looked out the window and saw him looking inside. And she decided that she thought he was going to break in, steal her stuff, maybe hurt her. So she called the police. This man was arrested, charged with assault, and was given jail time. Then there's battery, which is fairly similar to assault, except there has to be some physical contact. So if you rest your hand on their shoulder as you're threatening them. And one of the more ridiculous situations is if you're saying having a bar argument, and you throw your drink or your food on a person, that counts as battery. Then there's actual bodily harm, which involves putting minor injuries such as scratches or bruises on a person, and that's fair enough, you can understand why you get in trouble for that. Then there are 2 types of grievous bodily harm. Wounding and grievous bodily harm. In order for it to be wounding, you have to actually break the skin. And what I found ridiculous was that once a person was shot in the eye with a rifle. Now, the bullet didn't actually break the surface of the eye. What happened is the force of the bullet pushed the eye back into his head. The back of his eye hit another part of his head, and he suffered damages to the back of his eye. Now, because he hadn't actually broken the skin of the eye, this wasn't counted as wounding. It was just actual bodily harm. Then there's grievous bodily harm, which is things like breaking limbs, or rupturing internal organs, or actually cutting off arms and stuff. If you contract HIV, and you know you have HIV, and you have unprotected sex with another person, knowing that you have HIV, and they catch HIV, you could be arrested for grievous bodily harm. Then there's grievous bodily harm with intent. Now, if they can prove that you meant to do it, that's far worse. If you get caught for grievous bodily harm and you can prove that it was an accident, you'll get maybe 5 years jail time. But if they found out you did it deliberately, you can get up to life. Now, what they did at this point in the law class is they gave us this sheet. And it has all these examples of different stories. They're made up, you don't need to worry. And you just have to decide whether they were battery or assault or grievous bodily harm, etc. And they're brilliant. Now, the first example says, Jason decided to throw small plastic bags filled with water from a footbridge onto a busy road. Unfortunately, one of the bags went through the open sunroof of a car driven by Harry and burst on his head. Harry was soaked in water, lost control of his car and crashed into a bus shelter, damaging his car. Fortunately, he did not suffer any physical injuries. Now, because he'd touched him with the bag full of water but hadn't caused any injuries, this was battery. But would this happen? You decide to throw a small plastic bag filled with water off of a footbridge, and the first car that goes past happens to be with the one with the open sunroof. The next one said, Stephen shouted at Marion, and then he leant round the door and pulled her out by the collar of her coat. Marion slipped on the wet floor and fractured her skull against the door frame. The next one is, Kevin attacked Vincent and pulled out a knife. Vincent suffered several deep cuts to his face and part of his ear was severed. Now, the reason they know this is grievous bodily harm for the cutting off of the ear with intent is when it says several. He cut him several times. Now, the next one is brilliant because a man goes up behind a woman who is standing by a ditch and shouts boo at her. As a result of him doing this, she falls in the ditch and suffers bruising. And for this reason, it's battery, because, well, she fell into the ditch and suffered injuries. Then it says, Anna was walking alongside Tara when she tripped Tara up with her foot. Tara fell over and grazed her knees. Imagine this is you in that situation. You're walking along with your friend and your friend sticks their foot out in front of you and you fall over and you graze your knees. At this point you have two options. You can either say, oh, that was really annoying, friend, please don't do that again. Or you can do what Tara seemed to do and call the police because someone's just committed battery and you want them to be arrested even though they're your friend. Then the next one, the second to last one, I'll skip, just so I can say that last, because it's absolutely ridiculous. Kevin ran in front of a moving car and suffered a badly broken leg because Ian had started yelling at him, saying he wanted to kill him. If somebody yells at you and says they want to kill you, you have two choices again. You can either run away down the pavement, or maybe just away from them generally, or you can run in front of a vehicle. Now, this one that I left until last, most of the others have been fairly realistic, if not a little bit over the top situations that could happen. Now, this one, it could happen, but it's not very likely. Jack was asleep in a chair in the garden. Reg, who I assume is his friend or a colleague or a person he knows, went up to Jack while he's still asleep, mind you, knocked him unconscious with a kosh, which, for those of you who don't know, is a big metal bar that is used as a weapon. So Jack was asleep in a chair in the garden. Reg went up to Jack, knocked him unconscious with a kosh, and then cut out his tongue. Why would you do that? Under no circumstances would you see a person sleeping and think, you know what? They really deserve to have their tongue cut out today. Surprisingly enough, that was grievous bodily harm with intent, because you don't accidentally cut out somebody's tongue. Oh, oops, I'm sorry.